Today, filmmaker Tracy Robinson is with us. Tracy, welcome. We are so glad to have you here with us today on Grounded.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, how long have you been making films?
Well, my background is in film production. I'm primarily a documentary video editor, and I this is my first feature-length film. So my background and my experience is in filmmaking, but this is unexpectedly my first foray into directing and producing a feature-length film that went to theaters and got distribution and everything. So
Well,
it's pretty exciting.
congratulations. We are so
Thank
glad that you
you.
put your producer hat on. This is a very important film. Now, before we talk about the new film and the resistance to it, I want to go back a few years to, let's say, 2015. How would you describe your position on life that year?
Yeah, I would say even as an evangelical Christian, I was pro-choice, essentially. If I were to boil my opinion down, I think I probably labeled myself personally pro-life, as in who am I to enforce my beliefs onto other people, but I would never choose abortion. So that's where I was.
Mm.
But I honestly didn't think about abortion that much. I wasn't that concerned about it. I didn't think it was a big deal in the grand scheme of things. I knew it had something to do with being a Christian, like we have to be pro-life. Um, but it just really didn't enter my mind, and I didn't think about it that deeply of what really what abortion truly does.
Why do you think you were what I mean, you have a very radically different position now. You're making a film to defend life. So, why do you think at that time you were more complacent about the issue than you are now?
Well, I think it just didn't concern me. I had never been pregnant, and I just never found myself in that position. I didn't really, I, so my foray into this was actually working at a pregnancy resource center, doing videos for them. And I was commissioned on and off as a freelancer. Um, I had left the corporate world and doing, documentaries to just producing videos on, as a freelancer. And so I was doing these testimonial videos for a pregnancy resource center in California. And like I said, I was pretty much on the fence in terms of the abortion issue, and personally pro-life, as I mentioned. But I was meeting all these amazing women who had stories of abortions and who are now helping other women and ministering to them. And so
Mm.
I was really inspired by how the center was helping people choose life. I thought it was beautiful and was really impacted by a lot of the stories. But it wasn't
Mm.
until my friends at the pregnancy center, the staff there, invited me to an apologetics conference, and
Mm.
the topic was going to be the case against abortion. And I decided to attend and just figure out or learn what my pro-life friends are really talking about, or get to the bottom of that,
Mm.
of their beliefs. And in less than 2 hours at that event, my mind was changed, and
Mm.
that's where the vision for this documentary really dawned on me. I like to
Was
say
there
it was
anybody?
downloaded to me. So
I'm curious, like what specifically, like who did you hear, and what did they say that had such a significant impact on you?
mhm. Well, the speaker was Alan Schleman of Stand to Reason, and he gave
Mm.
a clear, concise, logical argument for the full humanity of the unborn child from the moment of conception. I learned about this thing called the science of embryology. Can you imagine that?
Mm.
Even in my late 20s, just this really basic information had never really been presented to me. And
What
just the fact
what
that I mean, just having it being laid out so logically, like the
mm.
fact that, I mean, we all know that killing an innocent human being is wrong,
Right.
but we have to be faced with the fact that abortion does that, and therefore it's wrong.
Mm.
And so he showed us, um, He showed us information about how life begins at conception, and he showed us fetal imagery, and he also invited us to look at abortion aftermath imagery.
Mm,
And I think it was simply just being invited to think about it in a deeper way, and departing from the euphemisms that we hear and just that sort of vague understanding that we subscribe to from the culture. I
right.
knew there were so many people in my shoes who had just never really been challenged.
Yeah. As you describe your change, I think that what you're describing before 2015, that you were pro-life, but it didn't really affect you, so you weren't that really concerned about it. And there was an underlying part of you that thought, I don't have a right to tell somebody what to do. I'm really concerned that there are a number of women, men in our church who aren't well educated about the value of life biologically and spiritually. And because the media is so often educating them in a propaganda and a message of abortion, that we are really being programmed by that unless we step into something like you did, a book, a conference, an apologetics conversation where we really are forced to think about it critically. Now, your film says that Christians real that Christians that our real abortion battle isn't it is in the pews, not in the public square. That was a really surprising piece of information I found in your advertisement. Why do you say that?
Well, this is a film that anybody could watch. They don't have to be a Christian to really resonate with this film, in my opinion. It's a powerful tool to convert people, so to speak, and educate and edify them to the pro-life persuasion point of view. And but in terms of um, this being for Christians, that was an epiphany that I had actually midway through making this film. I learned a staggering statistic, not only that 4 out of 10 women who've had an abortion in their past attended church in the month they became pregnant, but the fact that over half of all major Protestant denominations in the United States are either silent on abortion or they actually make
Mm,
exceptions for abortion. And I mean, that silence is essentially complacency. Um,
yeah,
so so that was a huge epiphany, and I realized that maybe God is going to use this film to wake up more churches and help Christians take more action on this issue, because it is
yeah,
such an opportunity. It's such an opportunity to love our congregations and our people and people everywhere 40%
yeah.
more. There's such a need, not only for people that have chosen abortion in their past or been involved with
Mm,
abortion in their past, but someone who is vulnerable to that, young adults everywhere in
yeah.
our schools and churches. So
I
this
always say
this
that
topic
when we
is
are
something that Christians need to engage in.
I agree. And when you say that there's silence in such a majority of churches, that concerns me because I've always said I'm kind of a spokesperson in the area of sexual purity and having a theology of our sexuality and our bodies. And I've always told churches and leaders when we are quiet, when we are not speaking out with the biblical truth on these issues like abortion and life, it's like putting a megaphone up to the world's lies and really just allowing their voice to be loud and to be heard. We've got to step into this. And that's what your film is inviting us to do. Tell me, what's the most compelling scene in the film for you, in your opinion?
Well, I think that we show a former abortionist, a former abortion surgeon, and how he became pro-life.
Mm,
His story of how he got to that point of never doing abortions again is incredibly powerful and just sticks with people forever. And I think, the enemy would love to censor and completely hide his story because it completely demolishes uh, just any arguments. You really can't argue with his story. It's just so powerful. So he actually went through a tragedy that led him to to actually face reality and come to terms with what he was actually doing, what he was doing every day for money. So
Wow.
that's probably
Wow.
the most powerful story for me.
Wow. Well, the movie is called The Matter of Life, and it's a must see for every believer. But Facebook has been deleting promotional ads about it. So, Tracy, how can we help get the word out about the film?
You can post it on social media. You can watch the film. That's probably the most important thing you can do. Visit matteroflife.org and find out. Just keep posted on ways you can see it. It's coming to digital and DVD pretty soon. Right now, it's on salemnow.com, streaming there. So, yeah, I think just spreading the word and sharing this with others is really important.
Okay, grounded sisters, you have your marching orders. This is a very important piece of action for us as we celebrate life at this momentous time in history. We're going to drop a link to in the comments and the episode notes so you can share this important work. Again, that website is thematteroflife.org. Tracy, thank you so much for being with us today, and more importantly, for the wonderful work that you're doing to defend life.
Thank you so much.